we'll stand and pledge allegiance to the flag.
I got used to it.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. Additions or adjustments to the agenda? Terry, any? I wanted to add just on the other business, just put building maintenance. Colleen?
Yeah.
Anything? Okay. All right, so moving on, approving the minutes of July 7th, 2020.
Yeah, I had a couple of things. First one, let me see if I can find it again. The first one is, it was a for instead of an or. Oh, yeah. Well, one of the things was under new business, where it says Barnes gave a locked-in price quote of $1.96. Clerk is getting quote from Blanchard's as well. Right above that, you're talking about water and sewer delinquencies, so you should make a note that this is about quotes on. Like,
A separate item, you
oil.
mean?
Yeah, that it's actually quotes on oil. I read the other one and it sounds okay. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes too.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Go to water sewer. First thing we're going to do is go into executive session for employee review. Oh, yeah, sorry, my bad. Public comments, communications with citizens. Ray, you're first.
I've addressed the board several times in my concerns about the loans that, and the leases on vehicles without voter approval. I've asked where you've got the authority to do so, whether it comes from the charter or whether it comes from a vote that the voters gave you at some point, or whether there's a statute in Vermont laws that give you the authority to acquire anything without voter approval that requires a bank. I'm still waiting on a response for that. Is there a reason it's taken this long?
Not that I know of.
I believe it's in the charter, I'm not sure the amount.
So is that something somebody could take care of eventually? Because it's been more than 10 days since I requested it. It's been since last meeting that I wanted. In fact, I requested it several meetings. I confronted you over the loan for the fire department. I confronted you over the loan, the lease, that you keep clarifying as a lease. But yet it requires a budgetary funding. Us as voters have to approve that. And you say it comes when we come to annual meeting. Well, we're not having annual meeting. And then we've had annual
What lease
meetings.
are you talking about?
The lease to the town truck, to our village truck, for the water department truck, for the sewer department truck, and the street department truck. For the loan you went and got for the sander that went in the vehicle, that for the loan for the fire department equipment that you went and got with Mayor Santos after village annual meeting that we did have, that should have been brought to the village voters. So this has gone on for over a year, and I'm clarifying, I'm just wondering why it is you can't give me any evidence
Well,
that clearly clarifies where you got that authority
From my
without
understanding-
voter approval. It's
my
not an
understanding-
understanding, I want something in writing.
my understanding is the voters of the village elect us to the board to take any business, to conduct business for the best of the village. And for that, if we need to take out loans or buy trucks for the village, then we can do so.
Without voter approval.
Correct.
So if you want to spend $1 million without voter approval, you think we elected you to do so?
Well, you elected us
No.
to use common sense, and we would never do that. But I think, isn't there something that says if you're buying it, you need voter approval, and if you're leasing?
If you're leasing, you don't need voter approval. If you're buying, you need voter approval.
So do you
So-
know where that's listed?
It's semantics. It's, I believe it's in the charter. I'll double
Because
check.
eventually, even if you leased it, we as voters would approve it, because it would have to be, the payment would have to be in the
At the
vote.
annual meeting.
Right, and it would have to be clarified that you acquired the equipment before a vote.
Major purchase.
I
Right.
mean, plain and simple. So you can't clarify where you got the authority to get that loan for the fire department without voter approval. Because we had annual meeting, and then you went to the bank. And during that motion that you made in the same motion that Mary Santow would acquire the legality to it. And I've questioned several times where and who she talked to. And the clerk informed me after talking with Mary that she never did that. So she didn't follow through with the motion, but yet the loan was acquired without the authority on how or where you got it from. So again, here we are over a year later, plus, and I'm on record now again, requesting something in writing that I requested over a year ago, where it is specifically in the charter that you can acquire loans without voter approval.
The charter's online.
It's a simple question, and it's gone on for more than a year. It's really not something that should take this long, and maybe you just don't know where to go find it, but the clerk's here and 2 other trustees now. So I'll move on to my next issue. The water and sewer issue has been one that's been going on for many years now. Debts, that it acquired in the sewer and the water losses that were never accounted for. We did an investigation into the water here, and we found that Ernest never owed us that money. That we were informed by a village employee had slapped a deed onto his property.
That
And-
never happened. I did look into that.
No, I understand that.
There is nothing.
Are you denying I was told that? Is that what you're doing? Because you're interrupting me while I have the floor.
No, I'm just correcting, I was not aware when
You're-
that was made notice to me last time. I said I didn't look for anything. I have since looked, and I'm just letting you know that there isn't a lien on his property from the village. That's
Well, there
all
would
I'm
never have
making a
been.
statement.
You came to that conclusion at the last meeting.
I wasn't
Um,
sure. I had not checked the liens, and I specifically stated that.
But we also decided to make a motion not to have you continue to find out why that was never followed through, and you just listed it in here on the minutes as clerk error. And we moved on from that. But this goes back to a simple fact that we're not treating all water and sewer customers equally and fairly. We're not applying the rules and regulations and the statutes of the law to each customer fairly and equally. Because had he been given these notices, I'm sure this would have come to straight Parisian light many years ago.
As we've commented, if I could speak for a minute, you're talking to 4 completely new people. You can keep bringing this up, Ray, but we can't comment as to what happened way back when. So, to me, you've got so many minutes to comment about things. You're bringing stuff up that we can't do a thing about what happened that many years ago. There's, what do you want us to say? Do you want us to make something up? I mean, we just can't we can't comment. It was not us that did this. We don't know what to tell you. What you interpreted, what was done, I mean, none of us were even sitting at a meeting to even be able to say, oh, I remember, and this is what we we were not here, and I don't want to speak. I know you're the chairman, and I apologize.
You're fine.
But I just, do we feel bad we can't respond to you? We do. I'd love to give you an answer, but we aren't going to find it. We can't make it up. I'm not going to comment and make it up because we were not here.
Okay.
You know?
If I may stop you, because you've interrupted me without the chairman's notice to it, point
I
to
could
order,
care
Mr.
less.
Chairman, and you were fine with that. So,
He was
once
fine with
again,
that.
we have adopted rules in this room, that chairman right there, that I myself follow, but the board seems not to.
Apparently not. Continue.
So, in response to what you said, and recovering back to my time of 3 minutes that I'd only consumed just below 2 minutes of, this wasn't a look for a response. This was a statement I was making. These are facts. Facts that you at the last meeting looked into and found that this man was not owing to the village any water and sewer to a property that was sold off in 2012. So don't say that it was needless of me to bring it up to this strange new board. Because you did your job. I was accommodating you on that. I was commending you on that. But you don't take what I say as giving you kudos. You took it the wrong way. I'm not down-facing anything that you did. You investigated it and you found out the facts that I knew were already there. For the first time, one of the board members took what I said and took it to heart. The water and sewer rules are not being applied equally. The delinquent bills from before 2019 December, as you say, was the shut-off, they can be still sent. Anybody who owed water and sewer before 2019 in December, anything during the COVID can't be collected. Don't say the courts can't take a collection for something before 2019 December up, because they can. So any bill in the name that you mentioned that we were concerned about, over $8,000 to the village, part of that was due before December 19th of 2019. So therefore the rule would allow that bill to be collected. Anything he's acquired since then won. I yield back any time, which would be exactly 33 seconds.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Ernest.
Steve?
Ernest, you want to go?
Ernest is on the agenda.
Oh, I'm
We're
sorry.
doing public comments now.
Yeah. I don't just, I know we can't change anything in the past, but going forward regarding shut-offs and stuff like that, I think instead of shutting off the same people, I think we could apply the rules more fairly and equitably going forward. And it's the same thing with the hydrant fees too. I know I brought this up. There's a lot of people who benefit from hydrant fees. Everybody from a vacant lot to a farm field. If you have a hay field and that hay field catches fire and the fire department comes down to put it out, you are benefiting from that hydrant and you should be getting a hydrant fee. That's what they were put in there for. And it doesn't, the dwelling, we've gone round and round with that. The dwelling, it's not a in the rules it says property. It doesn't say dwelling. So it doesn't matter if your house is a quarter mile up the street or if you don't even live here in the village. If you have property here in the village, like I said, if it's a vacant lot or hayfield, you should be assessed that $100 a year hydrant fee. And like everything else too, that could be increased to take off some of the load off the ratepayers also. And I see where you're going to go over line striping later. I'd like to ask about that when we get to it, if I could.
Is there a specific property that you're talking that's not getting a hydrant fee that you know of?
Oh, if you want, I'll go around. I can work with Terry and get the map and check on properties. The only person who is paying a hydrant fee is the guy who bought Murray Prune's old place. There are a whole lot of places that could be assessed and paying that hydrant fee. Yeah, again, I wanted to thank you for allowing the four-wheelers in town. It's made they are such an improvement. They all ride within the speed limit. They're all wearing helmets. They're all following all the rules of the road. And I hope you know I'm being facetious. But they're here. The North J Road property. Yeah, yeah, I'll get to that later, I guess, under other business when we get there. I don't want to keep you guys tied up here.
So I just want to make a comment as far as like the water sewer collections. And I don't want, this isn't meant to be to go in a back and forth.
Sure.
But the board sits here and we review the water sewer bills constantly because you guys keep hounding and hounding. And we are following our
Questioning,
rules.
Rich, I don't know if it'd be called hounding, questioning would be nice.
We are following the procedures of our water sewer, and we are doing the shutoffs as necessary and checking the meters, sending the bills out when we can, and collecting them when we can.
Sure.
We are doing what the village is supposed to do.
Yeah,
So I don't know why you guys keep bringing up that people are getting special treatment, because there's nobody here getting special treatment. All right, moving on. So water sewer. So now we are going to move into executive session at 5:15 for employee review.
okay.
You have to get out of here? No.
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay.
No, you can stay, Ernest. You get a pass.
You want me to stay on?
Yes, please.
Actually, I'd like to talk.
Out of executive session at 5:37 with no action taken.
Thank you.
Number 2, Ernest
Yes.
Choquette. I believe you asked to be on the agenda.
Well, thank you. There's 2 things I want to bring up. And one thing was the water meters. And I've been working for 4 years to tell you guys that the water meter wasn't working right over there. And
Over where, sorry? Over where?
on
The old library.
next to the old library.
On Main Street.
On Main Street. And I got a bill, just barely, and somebody fixed it. Because now the numbers have changed. So I don't know who did it, but I talked to her about it last month, and I've been for over 4 years now. I've been trying to correct this, and somebody did. I don't know who it was, but so I got a copy here if you want to see it.
So you're saying that you thought you were maybe getting charged too much, like the
No, no.
water usage?
See, I'll show you. See, it wasn't running. They were just guessing. See, and they were just guessing. It never moved. They were just guessing.
Getting an average?
And it makes 4 years it's been like that. It makes 4 years I've been talking about it. And I talked to you about it, and I talked to her about it, and she said, I'm going to. So must be you took care of it, because the last bill I got.
We've been reading it every time.
You haven't changed the meter.
Well, you haven't changed, you've been reading. And
We haven't changed the meter, we haven't touched it, Ernest.
So what happened?
I have no idea, we didn't touch it, we've been taking the readings.
I've read it
And the
twice.
reading hasn't changed.
It's a miracle.
See,
So
For 4 years, the reading has been the same.
you enter the reading and then it figures how much usage.
And if it doesn't, well,
For 4 years now,
what?
you, the reading is the same. And they've been guessing, so I can show you. I brought the last 3, they've been guessing. Somebody's been guessing. And then I got and last month, somebody must have corrected it or something. I talked to
I
you
put
about
in
it.
what comes to me.
So I don't know what, happened, but
We click it, and if
they said the meter was put in backwards. I don't know, but
I said if it wasn't reading properly, the only thing, if it wasn't changed by the averages, if it was reading backwards, it could be in backwards if it was reading
it
negative.
started out backwards and we went in and changed it. That's before Carson.
Way back when.
oh, way back, yeah. So anyways, whatever it is, I want to bring it to your attention, but it seems to be, this time I got a bill and then there was different numbers. Because I always had the same number. Always had the same
Well,
number.
they took the same amount of showers, they used the same much water.
No, well, it never changed. It never changed. It's like I wasn't using any water. It was
But
the
yet they
same
were
number.
billing you as consuming water.
So it was 132, and there was, and that's there was 132 for every bill.
And how much was it this quarter?
And this quarter, it was 175 previous to 214. So for some reason, it's somebody corrected it, or he says he didn't corrected it. I don't know. It was.
Can you recalibrate the
So I
meter?
thought I'd let you know, whoever.
Can. We haven't touched it, I don't know what would make it.
Isn't that amazing? I thought somebody had touched it.
Good coincidence.
Oh my God.
Because Carson and I, we've done it together twice.
Yeah. And,
I've ran out, touched the meter and, or the button.
I remember, I talked to you, I think, twice, and she said she was gonna look into it, and, but I thought I'd let you guys know that this time, for the first time in 4 years, we got a good bill.
Could it have been
Well, I don't know if
could
it's
it
a
be
good bill for me.
obstructed?
Oh, you were sure?
The numbers changed, let's put it that way.
Could there be an obstruction?
Okay, so you want to keep an eye on that. All right, have her keep an eye on it, keep an eye on this.
I'll look at your next bill to make sure I see.
Yeah, so make sure that it's corrected. Okay.
What's your second thing?
The other thing I want to bring up is the culvert just across the road here. And I think it was him, was you, was somebody put one, but there's only one thing out. And there was it 15 years ago when it flooded? You were
That
involved.
was quite a while ago.
Yeah, I think it was 15 years ago. That culvert plugged, and water went over the road, because and they went down the cellar on 126 there, but the water went over the road, and I don't remember, I think it was a day and a half you worked, and you were able to get the branches and everything out of that culvert. And when the state, or I don't know who did, but somebody took that all out and put some new cement there, and then put the thing back together. So I was afraid that it would plug again. So I kept harping, and somebody, I think it was you,
Put the grade down in there.
yeah, put the grate down in there. And there's just one grate, and it's off a little bit. But the other grate that goes on top is just on the ground, nobody. So I would suggest that we try to see which grate goes where and put it all up and fix it. And not plug that culvert again. Because I went back and there's a lot of branches where you whoever put that culvert up there, that thing up there came down and you could see the branches. So my suggestion is let's get the two grates up before the winter. Because let's not wait until it plugs up again, because that's a long, I showed you the other day how long that culvert was. I bet you it's half a mile long.
Ernest, I was in hopes to see Jason 70 from the state today. He was supposed to come on something else and come to the office, and I was going to ask him why those may not have been replaced. Hano just said that it was Shane Moran that actually did that project. He's now gone to Montpelier to work. So he's not there to answer the question, but Jason or Eric Pope for that matter. I could call Eric Pope.
But if you want me to help you, I'm willing to
I
help.
don't
but
know if
but
their
put up-
engineering thought was that it wasn't needed because of the way it was changed. I mean,
But it plugged quite a ways down.
It did, huh?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it plugged quite a ways down. So that culvert starts here, and it goes all the way across 126, and it goes across 82, and it goes across the other, I don't know, there's three houses down there, and it goes back of those three houses, then it crosses underneath the railroad track, then it comes out, what's the name of that road there?
Hill Street.
Hill Street.
Yeah, it comes out next to Phil Street.
And we're fixing that end of it.
Yeah, so it's a long culvert, so my suggestion is let's put that grate back up before it gets plugged up again. The grate is there, it's not, but,
Don't sound like too much of a project. I'm sure we can fit that in at some point.
well, I know, and I'm willing to help if I can be of any help to put that, but the piece that they put up, you can see it's not.
Right, because it wasn't.
It might be the wrong
from that.
piece, it might be the wrong piece.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But you also gotta remember, it's a whole new culvert and structure.
Well, it's not a new culvert,
Well,
it's a new cement.
It's a new structure, so that might not,
On the
it might
front.
not fit exactly right on that structure. But there's no reason why we can't go down and try to put that top on and,
Yeah, I think if the guy from the state looks at it and says it's okay, that was the only
I
concern,
wouldn't
right?
bother with
Marcel?
the state, I would just put that culvert back on, because that's not waiting until it plugs up.
And it's kind of nice to get their permission though, they can give us, but they paid for it.
They made you for them to put those culverts, put that raised up.
So we kind of have to ask them first.
So we're just gonna ask to make sure that it's not like going to obstruct it by any means, and
That's right, you go down and go take a look at it now, it's unbelievable, the branches that lower layer had stopped. It's already, we must have, I don't know, 20, 30 branches up there.
So does the grate not cover the entire opening? Is that the upper part of the grate, the culvert is open?
Yeah, that's not
So if
bad.
the water rises higher than that grate, sticks are gonna enter the
That's
culvert?
right,
Okay.
that's what I said.
all right. So we'll have these guys. We're gonna ask the state just before they do it. Then we'll make sure that if it's good to go, then we'll put it back together.
Well, let's see, somehow it's gonna be done, I don't know how.
I mean, if the state says no, don't put it up, then we're probably not gonna put it up because.
And we'll tell you why.
Well, yeah, we're gonna go by their recommendations. If they have no problem that we put extras on top in front of that structure, then we'll do
Well, it
it.
was there, why they took it off, I don't know, and why we, and it's not that it didn't plug, it plugged before that was put on. And it was a heck of a job to get it in plug, so the time that you spend to unplug that culvert is a small, it'd be a big percentage compared to the time you're gonna spend to put those grates up, because those grates are already there. And I brought this to your attention already. I mean, this is it now. I brought this way back early spring, and I stopped a couple times, and I think he's the one that put one culvert up, and the other one should go up too. So we need to do it.
All right.
So is there any question you want to bring?
Nope, I don't believe so.
Okay, and then the water, you look into this and you look into it and see how. I know it's changed, but maybe 4 years it hasn't changed.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah, it is. I can go back and get the 4-year bills if you want, but I brought you a whole bunch of bills, and somebody's been doing this already. I don't know what it is. And they used to charge me 27 gallons, and now we're using a lot more. But
Then you were making out like a bandit then.
well, I want it correct. That's what I work. You don't always win, but it takes a long time for it to win.
All right, thank you, Marcel. Ernest, sorry.
Okay.
That's saying age.
Thank you very much for your trouble, and I'll keep an eye on that culvert.
All right, so moving on, 20-year evaluation update. All right, so July 29th, April and I did a conference call with Aldrich.
Sorry. Thought you got it right there.
We did a conference call with Aldrich and Elliott.
Thank you.
For a 60% draft review of what they have come up with through their evaluation at this point. They were 60% done. There's a couple recommendations. Obviously this is a very thorough document to go through. I have highlighted a few things that what we talked about on the conference call. Nothing is in dire need. There's a couple things that need to be looked into within a couple of years. Then they put it all down. Let's see, I think it's 4.6. I printed this off so you guys can take it and look and take it home if you want. They will do another review at 80%, I believe, and then we'll do a finalized at 100%. So some of the highlights were some of the frames and covers for the manholes are offset and deteriorating. What they were talking about, which could cause more debris and stuff going into the manholes. But all in all, our manholes looked pretty decent. There was a few concerns with a few of them, taking consideration that they didn't look at every single manhole throughout the village. They said they looked at about 25%. That's what they try to do, is look at 25% and get a base. There was a few sections that had some solid backups, but there was nothing significant. The one line that they want us to really look into, that we have to look into sooner than later, is the industrial park line. Apparently there's lots of solids that are in there, so they recommend that we clean it out, camera it, and get an idea on what the issues are there, and then fix.
The issue is, it goes underneath the train tracks, and it has a sag there.
The train tracks have a sag?
No,
Or the pipe, because the pipe has to go down.
And it doesn't have enough force to push the solids through until it gets quite a bit of it, and then it pushes it through.
Gotcha. So, and it's not enough backup to where there would need to be a pump station,
No.
right? That's what that's my question.
What we used to do is we'd go there once a year, or sometimes in fall, spring and fall, and we'd flush it out, look at it before the seasons.
Is that still a process that you do?
I was talking to Carson about starting that, because I got where I couldn't do it by myself, and Carson said that we could start that up again and go flush any lines that look like they could be a problem. And there's another one on the bridge that's a problem.
How big's the pipe, Marcel?
That makes
8 inch.
That makes sense. So the pump stations, the one on Geraldine Ave is obviously good. There were some hinges or something they wanted that were rusting.
Yeah,
and,
minor.
Right, so like there were hinges on the door opening that they said that could be replaced, but that's a minor thing. So obviously that was replaced in 2005.
Right.
So
They rusted that.
that's right. That's up to date. So that looked good. The one big concern that they did, well, there are two big concerns with the pump station is, and we just had it just a couple months ago, the Pine Street property, that pump station. We need to find documentation on that we gave that over, that the property owner is going to be maintaining that pump station. Because right now we don't have any documentation.
It should be in the minutes, and I'm sure it's there.
And the problem is as what we have found, with a lot of things, is there was none of us on the board then, and it should be in the minutes, and we don't know if it is in the minutes, right? So if we can't find it in the minutes, then we have to do something about it.
I know it's there because I will say that now when they said it, and it was put into the minutes. I remember Jim saying, make sure we write this down.
Okay. And now, do you remember approximately what year that was?
Yeah, I did know. Didn't you find it, April?
I think I did.
Yeah, I think April mentioned
I
it.
think I do have that.
Okay.
In the minutes, it was
Yeah.
actually written, I thought you had said
Okay.
that.
I had it for the meeting when, Street.
Okay.
So I'll just go back to the minutes. I probably put it for there so I can at least find the date and.
Yeah, so if we get that, we can either give it to Marcel, so we have it there, or we can just give Aldridge and Elliott a call and ask them if they want that documentation.
Right.
And that way they're in the 80% review, and that will be noted that that was taken care of. Dominion Avenue, there was some definitely concerns. I believe that was a 5-year or under replacement, which it was listed in fair condition. And there was a couple things that were going on with that, but that was one of the, I think that was probably the biggest concern they had, and I think we were aware of that anyway, because we knew that pump station was deteriorating and it was getting aged, that we were going to have to fix. They recommend, hopefully that we get something like down at on Geraldine Ave to go down here. I did ask them if one of the process throughout this evaluation was if they give us any some quotes of what a roundabout cost figure would be, and then they said that they would be able to give us a roundabout figure of what they believe the cost would be to replace that, and then as soon as we get that, then we have to come to a game plan on what and how we're going to attack these these items. So that's where we're kind of just in that holding stage right now, waiting for that. But that was, overall, I think that was the biggest concern was that pump station in the industrial ave line. I think that's what I got out of the meeting. So one kudos that goes out is, and again, I have no idea what this means, but the chemicals in the tubing, apparently they had a concern with the tubing that was going in for the chloride maybe?
The fair.
Where we were introducing that, it was too early, which meant that we were using more chemicals and producing more sludge. And so they said it was okay and everything was good within the permits and all that kind of good stuff. They wished we would have been able to do it, moved it over. In that meeting, Carson brought up that they did find more tubing, and they have addressed that fact. They have already addressed that, and it's already in the works and in the process. And so what that's going to do is going to save us money on buying chemicals, and it's going to save us money on less sludge. So that's a kudos to you guys to hop on that.
Great job.
For the rest of the guys, like there was a lot of things that was already recommended that we would fix, and these guys have already jumped on and started grabbing the bull by the horns and fixing before this process is even done. Great job, and it's great teamwork between the two of you to help that out. But I was relieved after the meeting because I was anticipating a catastrophe with the sewer plant, just from all the horror stories that I've heard over the last couple of years on how bad a shape it was and how we needed to upgrade everything. So,
Doom and gloom.
I'm happy to say that we're not in a dire need of a new sewer plant. So, again, that was just a 60% review, but it looks good, and so good.
Like I said, Carson's got some great pictures coming up of what we did today.
Good. So good work for you guys on job well done so far.
Thank you.
Yes, Steve.
Can I ask these guys a quick question while we're here?
Go ahead.
I know we haven't had, it seems like this happens, like when we go a long period without rain. I know we've had people complain about the chlorine smell when you guys had chlorine, but obviously we need it. But it seems to me that whenever we don't have much rain and the river gets low, the water comes out kind of smelling a little swampy. Is that from sitting in the tank? Is it from maybe a little not enough chlorine maybe?
No, there's because when we open the hatch of the reservoir, we can smell the chlorine.
Yeah.
So it's not anything like that. And there's no way that the river water can get to our system that fast.
75 feet away.
The thing is, it's got to go down into the water tables and get into our aquifer.
Right.
And there's no way that it's going to do that fast.
Maybe I better change my water filter, huh?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that would be the next thought, probably.
All right.
Thank you.
So again, thank you, guys. All right. You guys have anything else for water sewer?
Could I ask a real quick question about Main Street? The hole by the hydrant that's out there by the drain, what's the creative of that? Where did that come off from? It looks like it's a washout underground there. And we just stuck a cone over the hole. Anybody?
We're both.
Right in front of your apartment. That fire hydrant that sits there by the crosswalk, there's a cone that sits next to the fire hydrant on the pavement over a hole with a stick sticking down in the hole. Ernest knows.
Yeah, we're aware of it.
What caused that? Is it erosion underground, a water leak, or a drain that's split?
The hydrant itself froze last winter, and I'm not sure if it had something to do with that, but once we took care of the hydrant, it seems that the hole doesn't seem to be getting bigger underneath.
It doesn't or does?
It doesn't.
Okay.
So we're going to
Keep an eye on it.
have somebody fill it, that's what we're going to do.
All right. I just see it's been there for so long, I wasn't sure where the process stood anymore, because...
Right.
So the only other question I had for water sewer is a budgetary question, and April, you might be able to find this out. in the budget, it shows for contracted services, we've spent $15,000 on contracted services, and we have budgeted 3. Can we get a breakdown of
Absolutely.
what those were last, for next meeting?
Yep.
Thank you. All right. So moving on to unfinished business, propane.
I was just gonna ask myself if they wanted to say anything about what they did today. Because you were talking about you did something today that was...
Yeah, we fixed the scum box, that it was in the clarifier, and we had to drain the clarifier all the way down to the bottom.
The clarifier is the big,
Right in the middle, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, from the top down, it's 25 feet down, so.
Oh.
We had to drain that, and, we were able to put that scum box back where it was. And, now it's filling up now, and tomorrow, well, we ran it, we tried a trial, and it ran the way it should.
Good.
So I think we're all set with that.
Good.
It's
And
quite a process, it's pretty cool to see everything drain down so I can see what's been under the water all this time, the water.
delicious, huh?
Any new cones?
All right, so unfinished business, propane quotes.
So my parents got back to me yesterday, and they will lock us in until next June at $1.59.
And that was the cheapest.
Did you check the oil supply?
Yeah, they do propane.
I don't believe so.
No, it's propane, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, we're getting oil for $1.50 at the office, that's why I wasn't even thinking it was propane, that's basically priced.
Who do we currently have?
America,
And they were at what?
the average was $2.42.
Yeah.
So it's like almost $1,100.
So, I'll make a motion that we lock in with Blanchard's at the 159 rate for our propane for the winter. All in favor? Thank you, April, for looking into that and bringing it up, actually. New business, Pine Street. April had brought up Pine Street asked about the cold patch. Now, I was under the impression that that you guys were asking if we could go get cold patch to go fix it, but apparently there was a resident down there asked if a couple of the potholes could get filled in with the cold patch. And last I knew, we had some cold patch left in the shed. Can we just, huh?
Yeah.
So can we just make sure, I guess, in our roundabouts, if there's like some decent sized potholes, that we just fill those in. And obviously, if we need to get some cold patch, go get some, and that just try to keep it as smooth as possible. Especially right now where the sun's still warm, we can get it packed down before the winter comes.
While we're still here, can I just make a note about another stretch of road that somebody asked me about?
Yeah.
Herbaceous next to you. Sean says, maybe you can explain this, and maybe, he said if he pulls in and out of his driveway, since the sidewalk's been there, that he bottoms out sometimes.
Yeah.
Can you explain that? I guess maybe you can do that more if you don't mind him explaining that. Because I said, well, if it's your driveway's the issue, and he says, no, it's actually the road is too low. So I don't understand. I tried to find out more of what he was trying to get at, and I didn't quite understand.
Well, if it were me, I'd tell him to slow down.
Okay.
I hope he's not watching. The only problem, the sidewalk is higher. It's higher, obviously.
But
than
it's
the street.
beyond your driveway, right? Like it's to the side of your...
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you guys could patch it and still have, the water drain down the side of the road, if the water is supposed to drain down the side of the road. But yeah, if you take a look at it, that'd be fine. But on the other side of the sidewalk too, on our side, the driveway side, I think we're gonna have to get some graded base in there too, because I'm not sure if it's the summer, the frost heaves or whatever, but yeah, the sidewalk is a lot higher than we thought it would be. And yeah, it wakes you right up.
Actually, I just take a look at our road and see if there's anything to do. All right.
And it's undermining too, Marcel, right near the mailbox. Yeah, I think if we get a good heavy rain, it might even undermine it some more. Right out front of the mailboxes, you'll see it.
It's possible that ditch is not deep enough right there. It's possible that ditch is not deep enough right there. Because that ditch is an above ground ditch that runs, isn't it? It runs on top of ground.
Yeah, well, the ditch down at the next house.
Next house.
Yeah, so it's kind of surface water, and it's been eaten under the pavement. I don't think maybe take a look at it before it gets worse. Thanks.
Web design quote.
Did you guys get it? The email?
So I had got the email, but I could not open the attachment to take a look at what.
So, I got a quote from Everco. I think that's what you say. They do a lot of the municipal websites around here. The startup cost, like, is $23.95. And then yearly it costs $4.95 for the upkeep, and customer support.
$25, why not?
Yeah. $2,395.
What's the name of it, April?
Cablico?
Oh, Cavaco?
Cablico?
They do a lot of.
So with this web page, will you be able to put a link on for payments? For like the water, sewer,
It'd be just like the town.
taxes, all that kind of good stuff. And would there be a spot for questions, comments, concerns, or something like that? Nothing to address that way.
You would post your agendas, a calendar for meetings, minutes can be posted there.
You would have to post your minutes within
3 days.
so many days, 3, 5, I'm not sure the exact.
We hired them when your sister was trustee.
They were free back then. They came around and offered it free to every municipality during that time, and now they slowly.
I thought they sounded familiar.
So I mean, I haven't checked with anybody else. I don't know who else there is around here. These guys just do a lot of the municipalities, so they're local and they come and they need help.
Is that more work that you want to do by posting meetings and stuff like that?
Oh, I don't know.
Wow, that's a change.
It's
All right,
a
then.
job.
Somebody wants to do the job.
Right.
Some other, put it in next year's budget.
I think we should discuss it the next, when we do next year's budget.
I know you want it, but you know what I
Oh,
mean? It's so,
it
I
is what-
couldn't believe the
It's
price.
just, it's, the price, it seems like a lot to me, but I don't really know anything about that. But it's just one of the things that, when I started working here, was one of the biggest things people kept asking for, a webpage and, to be able to pay their bills online.
I think that's a big ticket item
It is.
to be able to stay home and be able to pay.
Oh, and I do another quick question for April, if I may. The hikers too, that would be a benefit for, 'cause I get emails from the Green Mountain Club and the Long Trail Hikers.
Oh, yeah.
And I always send them to you for parking up here, because they tell them not to park at the trailhead.
I don't know where the trailhead is either, because maybe it passed.
At Journey's End,
Yeah.
up in North J, it's Journey's End Road.
Oh, no,
It's
yeah.
the trailhead.
Yeah, it's a hump driving up there too. So if we had a web page, I mean, you could even post something like that in there.
Yeah.
Nobody seems to mind the parking there, right? Fire department, the border patrol.
The two that are parked closest to the fire department didn't call here, because anybody that calls here, I tell them to park furthest to the left to stay out of the fire department
Way,
area.
yeah.
So, but these two didn't call because the other people have obeyed and just, parked were really respectful, so.
Yeah, I give them your number in
Right,
your
for all
email.
departments, right? That would be just office.
So going back to what are the numbers?
April, with this webpage, like, that would be accessible and used by all departments? So, for the village of North Troy?
Library.
So I guess like my question is, like, as far as like if we were to purchase this webpage, like we would be able to, for budget, like take out money that's allocated to each department?
Not for the library because she has her own. I could put links on our page to her website, but she's already got her own.
Who does she use?
Wait.
Is that through just for libraries?
But you have to do it, design it and stuff, and that's just, if somebody wanted to help, but I don't know how to do that. And she has to pay so much every year, but I can't.
The hosting fee.
Yeah.
But if the village offered or purchased this webpage, like that's just one of those things that
You could solicit ads.
we could, we would offer it to them, and even if they don't take it, I mean, we could still charge take it out of every department.
Water and sewer, I would think.
Water, sewer, library, fire department.
They were paying them for my library, you're saying.
Yeah, but so the library chooses to go elsewhere, or they could just hop onto the same page. To me, if you go to the one web page for the village, and there's a link for the library there, it'd be easier for someone just to look up for the library. That'd be a conversation that we could have with their board and say that we're going to purchase this and like we're going to charge you for it anyway, because we're offering it to all. We're taking it out of all the different departments associated. Like, does that sound fair?
And when we did it before, Rich, too, they sold ad space to B&Bs and stuff.
I mean, obviously we don't strong arm them or whatever, but we can still talk to them. So let's table it.
But if you put it in all these different departments, then you still have to put the money in those departments' budget, so it's still, you're not getting free money.
You spread it out.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah,
I know that.
yeah, you have to spread it out.
But
But it goes to what we've been trying to do, like with insurances and
Yeah.
everything else. And instead of it all one coming out of that single budget line item, where, like for electricity and all that kind of stuff, we're sharing that cost in everyone's budget. But why don't we table that and then we'll figure it in for next year's
Are we able to the budget?
budget meeting?
Or you want to wait till a budget meeting to do it?
I don't know. I don't mind doing it now.
No, I know that, and I know it's a money thing. What if for the next meeting you call and ask, like, or I can't even, Westfield, Roll, Report Center, who does their website? Maybe we could get some other, local Jay. I think Peggy does Jay's, because Peggy's awesome at web design, so I guarantee that Peggy's doing Jay's with a company, but she's designing it herself, so that ain't me. I couldn't do it myself, so. And maybe, look at if there was a cheaper price, that maybe we'd be able to, or they could start working on it now and pay for it next year, depending on the company you're working with, if they can't finish it until, for a couple months, and then we're almost into next year, and could pay for part of it next year, maybe. Sometimes it's split the cost between years. Just options, So rather than tabling it for budget, let's maybe bring it up next month and see if you don't mind.
No, I'm
Because I'd
all
love to
for
do it. I'd love to do it, that's right.
All right, line striping patchwork quote. The patchwork was brought up for a couple of the shut-offs and that kind of stuff that you guys had to dig out to reset. So, line striping and patchwork, I mean the line striping part, and I got two concerns or comments of my own, I guess, is I wish we would have done this sooner, just because by the time we get them here, they're going to be striping and all that stuff for winter, where it's going to be...
But if I can comment, it's sounding like the kids at school, if they live in the village, are going to walk to school.
Yeah, I know, and
And for liability.
and that's my other concern.
I really, I think it's so important. I know it's, and if you look at some of the line items that we may not use in the road, that we may be able to get a part of that out. That's my only concern, would be the liability of not being striped if the kids do start walking. For the crosswalks and everything. I mean, I don't know. Sidewalk repairs, you've got 3,800. Are we gonna do any repairs to sidewalks this year? That could be something.
What was the quote amount again?
$6,976.
You've got 1,000 in paving. I mean,
And that was to do
and does
every,
the paving come out of
everything
roads,
that
or does the
needed-
paving come out of water and sewer,
yeah.
because of the water and sewer?
schools, fences.
I think water sewer has one.
Line down Main Street, maybe.
They don't do that. That's,
Repairs and replacements, is where we sell.
How you know, I mean, we're not in England, obviously, but how you know where the center of the road is?
Not an actual paving line.
I mean, that road is so wide. If you got in an accident there, you could say, well, which side of the road are we supposed to be
General
on?
supplies
you know?
and water, general supplies and repair.
Right, exactly,
You got
for the county, and then the line straight would be 46. They should start looking at 46. Yeah, for another budget. You've got
There.
1,000 in paving and sidewalk repairs, you've got 3,800, that's 4,800 right there. If you just take the 47, 26.
so under, was that water?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I definitely think
I think for safety.
it should have been done. I wish we would have done it
Yeah.
sooner.
Mhm.
I spoke with them, and they will be here before the school.
They will, awesome.
I told them it had to be done before school. We told them that it had to be done before school.
I make a motion, we hire Browns to do the quoted line striping and repair paving. All in favor?
You want to sign them?
I just asked Marcel about painting down the center of Main Street. He said these guys don't do that.
I think,
It's a state, isn't it?
or, yeah, somebody has to do the line. I don't believe they do it.
Who would do it? I mean, it's been done in the past. At one time when I first moved here, it was
When they
done.
come through, do somebody pay
April
them?
spoke with them about
I asked them and they said when they came through, but they do that. But I watched them, they kind of stopped, like on the outskirts, like the
So they
white
didn't even
lines.
come through if they were coming like up Pleasant? They didn't do Pleasant? They stopped and then picked back
I
up?
don't even know if they went up Pleasant. I saw them go up here and come back down and they stopped, like just, they start just above doing now and
Just outside.
And I think there's a question about the class of road. They already had class ones done, and when they were doing class two, wasn't it? They said they.
Well, they said The email said that they had already come through and done all the class road ones, but, I mean, that was the first of the striping I had seen, so I think the email might have been incorrect. I think they finally came
And did class
and they have not
ones.
done the class 2 yet. I'm hoping that would definitely be something to get clarified, but when he had sent that email, there was no fresh striping yet, so
No.
they hadn't come through.
It was always done before. It's only been, what, 3 years since they, 4 or 5?
Guess we'll just wait and see, and hopefully they come.
And if you're gonna do the crosswalks, the one on High Street, on the intersection of Pleasant, North Pleasant and High Street, does not go to anywhere. So it comes off of the sidewalk in front of Lisa and Donald's place, and proceeds across High Street to Chuck and Cheryl Woods' lawn. When it actually needs to go from one side of Pleasant Street to the other side, from Donald and Lisa's, across the street over to Jared's, Alberghini's house, to that sidewalk. There's never been a crosswalk across North Pleasant Street to High Street, that intersection of the sidewalk.
And that's where the sidewalk.
And that's where at least 5 kids cross almost daily to go to school when they have school. And we're missing signs giving pedestrians the right of way on some of the crosswalks, I've noticed. That might be something, if we're going to get them painted and reissued, that those signs get put back up.
All right, number 4, finalize the 2020 budget. Carrie wants to be on behalf of that.
This is a copy of the email that we received, responding, Susan Senning from VLCT, the attorney.
Could you speak up, please, Terry?
A staff attorney from VLCT responded in an email to me. My question was, we have yet to have our annual meeting because of COVID. What do we need to do? I was instructed by someone, JP Isabel from the Secretary of State, head of elections division, that we could, because of COVID, we could have a special meeting, warn a special meeting just to pass the budget. I sent a letter, an email to Susan Senning at VLCT to ask her how to warn that properly. And ironically, the day that I sent the email, the legislature enacted Act 105 to address towns that have yet to hold their annual meeting. This is the email. This law, which is in effect for the duration of the declared state of emergency, gives select boards the temporary authority to adopt a budget and establish a tax rate for the next fiscal year without the need to hold a town meeting to obtain voter approval. Therefore, the select board can vote at its own duly warned meeting to finalize both a budget and a tax rate for this year, so long as the vote is taken during the declared state of emergency. So therefore, as a line item, we vote to approve the budget for this year. The tax rate, the listers have not, you're not prepared. That will be next meeting that will approve the tax rate, but we're not there yet.
Okay, so what's the, can you read off the?
So the amount bought based on the book, which was in, the annual report, would have stated, shall the voters approve expenditures in the amount of $228,164 for 2020, minus the, offsetting revenues, which we know, but the amount that's listed is the total expenses for 2020.
Okay, so why don't you make the motion?
I have a quick question before you go to make a motion that should be presented to the floor for discussion. Am I wrong in that?
So we can make a motion and then we can go to discussion.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve a budget in the amount of $228,164 as indicated in the annual meeting warning for 2020.
All right, so now we move into discussion. Elaine, you have any discussion?
My feeling is we kind of have to accept this number, because that's the number, we went through a number of meetings to come up with this number, and that was our absolute best estimate of what the village needed. And that was before we knew we were going to be voting on it ourselves. We were figuring the voters would vote on it. So at this point, for us to sit and discuss it and change it would be like, we know we're the only ones voting, so it's kind of unfair to the voters. It's like saying, oh, we got this great opportunity, we can do what we want. I think we kind of have to go with the figure that we thought was the best back when we set the budget, and that's this figure. That's just my feeling. I wouldn't feel good about changing this figure.
No, that's what we presented.
Right. And that's what we put in the booklet for all the voters to see.
And that's the figure we've been 8 months on now, anyway.
Going by,
Right.
yeah.
I've got a quick question.
All right, we'll go with Ray first, because he,
Given that that's the number that Terry just presented, and that was what you went through all those meetings to come up with your best guess,
Yeah.
that will not include a payment for the fire department and their loan. Now you've got a catch-22 that man created by making an illegal loan without voter approval. Because that loan was made after we met and during annual meeting and would have approved the 2020 budget.
That loan was made at the annual, that was after the 2019.
Right. Correct, before the end of 2019.
Which would have approved the 2020 budget.
This is a new year.
So we've made the loan and already paid back, I'm guessing, or no? It was a $6,000 loan he's talking about?
For gear, equipment and gear.
yeah,
So was that already paid?
it's not already paid in full. No, we've had a payment that's already been made.
You see where we're at now, do you, Glenn? You understand the catch-22 that being created by getting the loan without voter approval?
Well, how are we paying for it? Like so much a year or?
Make monthly annual payment.
Yeah, there's, what's the
Is there a line
payment?
item here for it?
What's
It
that?
comes out of their gear and
Out of their gear,
equipment and gear.
so
Or
it's
2021.
Right. So, I mean, it's in the
our budget.
It's in the budget, it's in the fire department's
That's my
budget.
question. That's
So there's not a separate line item. It's coming
For the
out of
loan?
the equipment and gear fire department budget.
And that did not go up from last year.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, did you
Steve?
get that? Ray?
No, I don't understand how that worked.
He's
We
saying-
approved, wait, I want to understand clearly and make sure we're talking about what occurred. We approved a budget in 2019 for 2020 at the annual meeting. And then you went and got a loan after that budget was approved.
Correct.
And you made payments on it without an increase to the fire department's loan capacity from their equipment and gear. When in the motion you made, you said you were going to increase their line item by $4,000 to make those payments.
So, the budget that we have presented for the fire department's budget, which is 37,379, includes what the loan payment gets taken out of the equipment and gear. There is not a separate line item in there. The fire department budget just gets, that money for the loan gets taken.
And how much was their line item for equipment and gear in the budget book?
There isn't a line item for equipment and gear in the budget book.
For the fire department, there's
Yes.
not?
Correct.
There is,
There is.
yeah.
And how much was that for?
$19,194.
So you passed the budget for $19,000 and then you went and got a loan for them for $6,000.
We haven't passed the budget yet. That's what we're going to be doing here.
Oh, he's talking about the
Last year.
2019.
2019. So 2019, so we passed, what was 2019's budget? I don't have that right here.
19,194 for that line item. It didn't change.
Okay?
So there'll be no payment on the budget of next year for that loan payment as a separate line item on there. It'll come out of equipment and gear.
Correct.
Why did we have to go get a loan then? If they had that line item of $19,000 to spend at their own free will on equipment and gear. I'm really not understanding why we're paying interest rate for a loan when you had a line item on there for equipment and gear for a total of $19,000, but yet you went and got a loan for $6,000, and now we're paying interest on a loan for 5 years. What sense does that make, and explain the
The
math?
fire department's the one who's paying it out of their budget. So if that's what they wanted, that's what the board decided to do, that's what's coming out of their line item.
Why are we paying interest on a loan when they have the capability of spending
So
that money?
they made the decision that if they wanted to pay the interest on that $6,000, that's what they're paying. They were getting that money anyway, so if they wanted to pay more money for the $6,000 up front, that's the decision they asked the board to do, and the board approved it.
Thank you for your clarification.
All right, any other, Steve, you have something?
The state of emergencies run 30 days at a time. This is our third or fourth one. At least the third.
This is March.
Yeah, March, April, May, June, July. So the chances are 50-50 that we might not need a state of emergency, we might not continue the state of emergency because the caseload is really
Well,
way down.
it's right, but it's 50-50 that if we don't go to,
It doesn't even matter. It's not the state of emergency to the end of the year, as long as it's voted on during the state of emergency, which is tonight.
right,
Because in 2 weeks, the grand list is going to be transferred to the village, and a tax rate is going to be set so that we can get tax bills out to get our revenue to pay off, to run the town, so, the village. So it's not to wait till the end of the year. It's not that the state of emergency isn't going to be in effect in December, so let's have the meeting. We have to have, that's why they have made
Within this
Act
amount of time.
105, so that we can collect taxes.
That's why you sent the email,
That's
because we were
why it's-
coming up on the deadline to set a tax
Exactly.
rate and to get your tax bills out.
So you've got this deadline, so even if they didn't declare another state of emergency, we still wouldn't have time for a
We would
meeting.
not have time, because we've got to get the tax bills out in order to have taxes come in and have money to
Now,
finish operating for the rest of the year.
the only thing we're allowed to do during the state of emergency is pass the budget. So anything else we would have done at annual meeting,
all the other ones.
we cannot do. So if we're allowed to have an annual meeting like a month from now,
We can discuss.
So it's for the budget only. Is that
Yeah,
in-
for this can only
Yeah,
be
that's
budget.
right. All offices remain the same. What will happen is, next year, if I was up for this year and should have been voted for 3 years, next year I would be, it would come up next year for the
term-
remainder of.
Yeah, the
So that everything stays the same.
terms are irrelevant at this
But
point.
that's the way that she said, that's the way she.
but the budget has to be done to send the tax bills on.
Right.
So this is probably a first in village history that we,
And anybody's, I think, in the state of Vermont have had this thing, but
the budget only.
COVID.
All right.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to other business, Hill Street project. Is that you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we got 2,500 of the 5,000 from the river.
Could you speak up, please? I'm hearing impaired.
Yeah, I can barely hear you, Terry, too.
So we, as we all know, we got the $5,000 grant. We received half of it from the Upper Missisquoi and Trout River Wild and Scenic Committee. They sent somebody from the state to look at the culvert because it was recommended if we need a bigger culvert, perhaps they could pay for a good part of it, a portion, hopefully all of it. Unfortunately, they did decide that it needs a bigger culvert. Dan Pepin was going to get in touch with McAllister to take a look. It needs new cement ends. He will not touch it. It's too high up, it's a bigger job, and highly recommended that we talk with somebody from the state for engineering. He said, Dan says the culvert looks like it's a 2-footer going into a 3-footer. He thinks maybe there's ledge there. I mean, it's a drop off. So I sent an email to Jason 70 to go take a peek, and he's supposed to work today and didn't get back to me in time. He said there is an emergency funding right now. Bobby thought that Jacobs mentioned that sometimes maybe there's emergency money in a case like that. He said there is no emergency money available right now, but he said he would definitely take a peek and look at the options. There are better back road grants for, a lot bigger projects, which would be 80-20 match. I don't know, in Troy, last year, the year before, a box culvert was
I
put
don't
in.
think, but I don't think we will qualify for a Better Back Roads grant
On that?
for some reason. Maybe, but
Okay.
I know I've had this discussion with Eric. All right, so we had this discussion on just some of the classifications and what we would qualify for monies for whatever roads here, and there's limited roads that we qualify for just because
They have to go
of the
from
classes.
one end, like they have to be there's certain ones like Loop Road goes from a class 1 to a class 1, so it makes it, a class 2 is different than a regular class 2, and
Yeah.
there's different guidelines, so that's why we were able to get it. I'm not sure. So, could
So I have another question, just real quick with that. How fast do we need to spend that money from the grant?
I'm not sure, I'd have to call.
So is that grant, I'm assuming that grant runs like every other grant, like you send them an invoice and they pay for it?
They've given us half now.
So we have that money?
Half.
So if we put that aside to maybe pay for the 20% of,
That's under the 20. Once
I
you get an
don't know.
engineering company involved,
Yeah.
it's gonna be expensive.
So,
well, I know, but that's what I'm saying, but if we do qualify for a Better Roads grant,
Mm-hmm.
can we use that grant money to pay for part of our portion of payment?
Oh, I got it.
That would take some of the costs off, us. That's what I'm asking, like, how fast does it need? Because I am in agreement that there needs to be a new structure for that culvert, because that's why it washed out in the first place, because it washed behind the culvert and then started washing the culvert out and washing the whole road out.
Yeah.
So with a structure there, that will
stop.
gather the water and send it down the culvert.
So I just want to make one, for Ernest, he's talking about the other end of the culvert that you were talking about, the one
Yeah.
that comes out on Mill
Yeah, the
Street.
one that road that you showed
It's on the
me.
Yeah.
north side of the tracks.
Correct.
So depending on the price, we had a small box culvert engineered on Loop Road, and it was close to $100,000
Well, that's not bad.
because it's engineered and it's the way it needs to be.
You should have brought that up before we finalized this budget.
Water, yeah, water runs. Any thought to changing their road and putting a road where Mike's driving anyway, and put gravel there and make it a second class, third class road, and get rid of that culvert altogether? Would that be cheaper? If that box culvert came in to be that much money?
It's more like a brook than a culvert.
Something to think about.
The first question first comment that I have so Mike is driving all the way through the field
At times,
now?
not all the time.
Oh, okay.
At times.
I guess that is I don't know, I can't answer that question. That would be a zoning, we'd have to go through zoning, I'm sure, for a road. We would have to look at the legalities of stopping the roadway itself early.
Yeah, so that could happen. That would, you just, your highway mileage would, you had to give that
Is
up.
there-
But you'd get more money from the state having this road too, because that would be a new road with longer.
So
mileage.
another question I have is that culvert is right No, that culvert is not by the railroad track, so we can't like ask the railroad company for help,
Good luck.
right? I know, I'm just trying to think out loud, but the easiest fix is probably to try to make that road. The argument I think that we are going to get into is presenting that to the Hill Street property and telling them that we're cutting that road and then making them a new road to their house. I don't know what that details as far as the legal stuff,
It's a lot to plow in the winter.
but it may be, but
Still be cheaper.
it still could be cheaper, but it may be easier because we could build that road for where the town truck can go down and clean it out, clean it back, and we won't have to use our truck to go underneath that underpass.
Yeah,
So,
So just a thought, I didn't think about it,
Good
just a
idea.
thought, if it's, I don't know what it costs.
Where would you be putting the new road? I mean, I'm not sure. Beyond, off of Dominion Ave, going in the back way?
You know, all the way across the hill.
so I think, so
Would there be any right-of-way concerns through
we
there?
would have to talk to zoning and have
Just over here.
maybe have zoning, or we would have to go to a zoning meeting or talk to them regarding, because there's a right-of-way there to the field, right? Well, we're still
Going
kind
to
of looking
require
for
any
that.
Act 250 permits?
But
Any
would we
drainage
have
gonna have to be
to-
put in for
we would have to
street
probably make a
drainage?
deed or put a
Culverts?
right-of-way through the whole field
No, it's
that we
all flat.
currently own for that road, or subdivide it, or whatever.
Are you talking about the Standish?
No, we're talking like the properties we already own.
You wouldn't need a right of way in it unless you went to sell it, and then you would you'd subdivide it different, and then you'd have a.
I'm sure zoning should be able to answer those questions for us.
Take it by eminent domain.
That would,
Just a thought,
it might be,
I thought,
it might be easier. Let's see what zoning has to say.
and we also, Jason's gonna come look, he's gonna give me an idea,
Pauline's right, we all know if we have to get an engineer to
Yeah,
involved.
And should we should for the liability, really, you know what I mean?
For it to be done right, it needs to be.
What you're
Right.
saying is it can't be done exactly how it was before.
It can't only unless we find somebody that wants to do it. McAllister
Oh,
was
so-
asked to do the concrete, he won't touch it because it's a drop off. He says, and you can't get big machinery underneath the underpass to even work on it, like a crane or, I don't know what they'd be doing to put it there. But it's such a drop off there, he said, no.
The water runs 3/4 of the year.
Yeah,
It's
and
more like a
there's,
brook.
and there's, there's other concrete people, but it's just,
Yeah, let's look into that, and see, ask them if, do you know when their next meeting is?
Yeah.
Tomorrow night? Well, we can't get on their agenda anyway, so maybe if we can get on, the village can get on the agenda for the next zoning meeting, and then,
But we don't really need to, I can ask
All right,
all the
yeah, so-
basic questions,
Yeah.
I
ask them what the process would be for that,
don't know if
if
it requires
whatever
anything
permits
for
or
zoning.
anything like that.
I really don't, I
Because
can't
I'm
think of anything that would
Assuming we could probably still use that grant money to help build the road in.
I bet we could, if we,
I have to talk to Lindsay.
Yeah,
think
but I
that-
mean, it would be I would,
I don't know.
I don't know.
The grant
If she
wasn't for
finds out
repair
how
of
much
storm
money
damage?
If not, I mean, if not, there's still areas in the village that we could use that money for, the first storm
The
damage.
culvert brings water right into the river, so it ties into the river, which
Right.
is what they're concerned with.
Right.
Okay, we'll table that, and see what zoning has to say. All right, I added building maintenance. So obviously, I think in here looks great. I don't know if there's a couple things that, I think that like in April's office that transition from where the old door is. Something needs to be fixed or put there, right?
Was it going to do a threshold or something?
Right. That's,
I don't, there's no
I'll ask
there.
you.
so the other question I have, or I guess is a job that needs to be done sooner than later is all the metal flashing is been blown off the west side of the building, all on the fascia, and that fascia is starting to rot. And if that rots, that's another project we'll need where we could just, if we can get somebody to bend some metal and throw it up, I think it'd be a quick and easy and a cheap job, but I think it needs to be done sooner than later. Do we want to ask Robert to do it? Or do we want to wait to see what it's going to cost?
Do you want to have him give a quote? Is that what you're asking?
I know it needs to be done. I mean, it's uncovered and it's getting weathered and it's going to rot, and it's just going to create more of an issue with the fascia than the roof and everything else. I mean, it's not a big project. It's just a matter of having somebody with a bender and some tin and some ladders.
On the back side, Rich, or over on
The west side,
the west side?
the whole.
I mean, if it needs to be done, it needs to be done. You don't want it to go all winter, do you, and have it not be done?
No, I don't.
You can look at it. He also didn't, we had discussed the window, and he's trying to design something that wasn't part of this, so he just kind of, was able to get in here and get this done, but that's still, up for discussion too, but,
I guess we're gonna have to ask the CPU. He won't do it anyway.
okay.
I guess, just ask him if he's able to, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, and then, did you want to talk to him about doing something so April's office isn't like totally open?
Me?
No, I'm asking your opinion.
So my opinion is, I thought we were
You thought you had a boardroom closed, didn't you?
correct.
And it wasn't in the plan at all.
I guess not.
No, so.
Right, because
yes.
I envisioned a double door,
It wasn't though, it wasn't in the plan.
like that half wall extending out to a full wall, and like that half wall going all the way to this wall here with a double door coming in here, blocking her office off with a door coming in here. That's what I envisioned.
Okay.
That's what I thought. So when I came in here, it was all framed up. It was like, is it done? But I mean, it still looks great, and it's a lot better than what we had. But I just
So where would you go all the way back to the storage and do your doors in here?
right. So again, this was what I envisioned was something just like the library, a nice double door in here at the center of the room.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't do the center of the room now. Like if you go off like Ray's right shoulder, that half of that bar wall there, that would come fully out here. So the storage room back wall would go all the way across the whole room. That half wall would go up to like a full wall, and she'd have a door to get into her office, and then there would be a door to get into here. You know what I'm saying? I'll show you.
You're saying like a saloon door there?
Right, the library door.
No, to get in
here-
my office.
Your
So
office.
here there would be a door to get in her office. From here, this door jamb would go up the same height, right here to a wall that goes across here.
Right, with double doors coming
And
in.
here there would be a wall to come into our conference room.
Right.
That way there, her office is totally blocked off. So like nobody here can just, I understand like that door where all her good stuff is locked, but her desk and everything's still accessed here where this is all open, so someone could just walk in and take a look if we're not paying attention. So that's what my envision was, but
could she get out in case of fire?
Well, yeah, she's still, I mean,
Yeah,
the
we
door,
have
the door would be,
too, and you'd have doors. But
So one thing he did mention too was the different prices in doors. Two solid doors are 600 and glass doors are 700
For two or each?
for the double doors that open. He did have that price, you know, that's the only other price.
because he was thinking about a double door there, right?
Double door on the way in.
On the way in, yeah.
Yeah, just to lighten it, you know, that would make, she agreed that it would be lighter if the sun from out there came through
Sure.
that end, you know. So now the question is, do we want to do that now, or do we want to wait for next year? I mean, he certainly can come in, you're gonna pay for it next year anyway.
Right.
So if you want him to come in.
I mean, I don't know what, I mean, that was just what I thought, and what is everybody else's.
I thought you were happy when we moved the table, you were good.
I am very
I want to
happy.
draw a diagram for him, Rich.
I am very happy, you know, with how everything
I have
went.
plan to do not look at.
I was all excited there.
He's
Done. I just
showing apparently,
didn't
Rich.
really look too closely to that blueprint. See, look, Steve's already going in there looking for stuff.
I thought there was also shelving in the storage room.
There's no
There's
shelving.
no shelving.
Oh, so he can do shelving for you if you want, or we can order shelving.
That's what I was more excited about.
Yeah.
So
We can do shelving.
so the shelvings would be next year's.
Yeah, I mean, we can look into the price of shelving too. It's not like you need super heavy duty
No,
shelving.
it's
That
not.
can get costly, but, you know, and it may be cheaper to order shelving that is not heavy
I mean,
weight.
2x4, you could do a 2x4 and plywood.
But is that
Like,
cheaper?
that whole
That's what
wall.
I'm saying. Is that cheaper? If it is, do it, well, you know, he can do that.
Be definitely a lot more sturdier, and she
Yeah.
can place a lot of records and boxes on top, but
Paper weighs a lot.
Some of them are heavy, and there's quite a few now they're at least not healthy open there in the back room.
can you get a, just have one get a price
Yeah.
on all of it?
Everything. Yeah, and then the front window redone.
But like separately, so we can decide, do this one this year and that
Yeah,
one next
yeah,
year.
and the flashing.
And the walls.
So
Shelving. Let's see. Walls for boardroom, 2 doors, front window redone, and flashing inside. Okay.
All right, so, all right. Good. All right, so agenda items, date of next meeting.
Other business.
Other business.
Can I make a comment? Can I?
Go ahead.
Can I want to be on the agenda next month. Again? Yeah, well, I make 4 months. I've been trying to get this solved, and it hasn't been solved. So I'm going to give you guys a deadline. I want to be on the agenda next month. And this is going to be, the problem that we have with that culvert, it's got to be solved. It's not when it's going to be plugged, it's going to be time to address it.
So Ernest, like, that culvert, right, was engineered and put in by the state. So that solved our culvert issue. Now, I understand that you are.
It's not solving the culvert issue.
So you have a concern that culvert at some point may plug and we may run into a problem again.
Why don't you come out at the end of the meeting, this meeting here, and take a look at it.
So Ernest,
Take a look at it and see how much branches there is down there.
Ernest, I walk by it all the time.
You walk by, but you don't go down and take a look at it.
You're right, I don't go down there.
Okay.
But what
Go down and take a look at it.
So what I'm saying is you have no problem, I have no problem with you going on the agenda for next
Okay.
month.
Okay.
But, like, don't demand a deadline that we need to solve it because it has been solved, but it's just not solved the way you want it to be solved.
It hasn't been solved.
So like we had answered you, okay, we are gonna check with the state and ask them if it's okay if we put the grates, all the grates back on. If they don't have a problem with it, we are going to do it.
Okay.
If they do have a problem with it, then we are not going to do it.
My question to you is, maybe 4 months ago, I brought this to your attention. And nothing has been done, except
So
I got one day that I got him to put the culvert.
my answer to you 4 months ago is the same thing. The state engineered that culvert.
Did
They
you contact the state? As the 4 months have gone by, have you contacted the state
For what?
to put that culvert, to put those grates back up?
No.
See? So what I'm saying.
They engineered,
I
they
wanna be-
designed it, Ernest. If they wanted the grates to be put back in with that design, they would have done it.
No. No.
That is an extra that you want on. And we are okay putting it back on as long as the state says it's okay.
But if he's on the agenda next month, we can at least tell him what to say.
I understand that, but I don't want to have him sit here and tell us that he demands, he's giving us a deadline. Because the deadline is if we get a hold of the state, they let us know, we are going to tell these gentlemen right here, yes or no, and then they will take care of it when they can get taken care of.
My question to you is that you haven't contacted the state for 4 months.
It's a status update, okay?
Right? So now I'm putting you a deadline for you to contact the state,
And a status
It's pretty reasonable.
which is reasonable.
I mean, 'cause 4 months
I'm
ago,
putting
you
you on a
had 4
deadline
months.
for you to contact the state
All right,
and
thank you.
tell them the trouble, and he can explain the trouble that he went through, because he's the one that solved the problem. He's the one that solved the problem 10 years ago. And then, I know, we hadn't had any, well, it's over 10 years, but we haven't had any problem since. So my question to you is, it's gonna cost you more to unplug that culvert than it is to put those grates up. Regardless, if you plug that culvert again, and which it will happen, I guarantee you it's gonna happen. And if that culvert gets plugged, it's gonna cost the village more money to get it plugged than to put those grates back up.
So again, all right, so let's say we put those grates up
Yes,
and the culvert plugs, and we go back to the engineering and the state, hear me out, and we go back there and say, this culvert that you put in here wasn't good enough, it plugged. And they come back and say, well, it's because those grates are there.
they never changed.
So that is why we are,
They never
that's why we
changed
are
that
looking
culvert.
into it.
They never changed that culvert. They just put the cement, took the grates off and put the cement over the culvert.
To stop it from washing out around the culvert.
That's right.
Okay.
But they never changed that culvert. It's the
Thank you.
same culvert you got. So I want to be on the agenda next month.
All right, thank you.
Okay?
Agenda items.
My question is, I want you, after the meeting, come take a look at that. Bring them down and take a look at that.
Getting dark earlier, Ernest.
Well, it's not dark yet. He's on the last agenda.
Right.
So,
You know about, the Hamlin property. The old Hamlin property.
That's right.
So
You're
I
right.
didn't call that attorney, because I don't know what I'm gonna say. Like, have you ever talked to any of them or anything?
I have no idea about
Okay,
that,
so I
any
had
of that.
not, I was gonna do it today, and I said to Lee, you know,
That is nothing any of us have dealt
okay,
with.
so I will try to reach out to that attorney and just say, you know, this is who we are. We were told that somebody needs to contact, we're a completely new board, you know, what do we need to do? I mean,
From what I
we're not gonna give them any information, it's the company that's telling us to call him first, is the one that's gonna give them information.
I think from what I understand is they want access to the property to put testing sites or whatever.
Right,
And,
which they've had in the past.
and then I don't think this property owner has been getting back to them, I
Okay,
think.
No.
No?
No,
that's Hill Street,
that's Hill Street.
Oh, okay.
It's Betty Friedel.
Betty Prevo's attorney, that owns the post office. It's her, that they said for us to get our attorney to, I hate to hire our attorney to call their attorney.
They're looking for a village representative, a board member, or whatever. So call them, but I don't know what they're looking for.
Okay, so I'll call them. I will do it tomorrow. I will do it tomorrow, if you're okay, unless you want to.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I don't have a clue, but if you want to, feel free. You want to?
No?
Flip a coin.
So for date of next meeting, I have September 15th.
September 15th. Oh, that's when you're available?
On a Tuesday.
I'm available that day.
No, no, that's a third Tuesday and I have a board meeting.
Actually, how about the 1st?
I'm available first.
Yep.
5 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, so honest, it'll be
Doesn't
5
the
o'clock,
book
September
say-
1st.
Tuesday, September 1st to Tuesday?
What?
I'll mark it on my calendar. That's, I won't forget it.
Is that a
Give me a
Tuesday?
call to remind
Yes.
me. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
The date again, Terry, I'm sorry.
September 1st.
Thank you.
Yep.
And we'll, I don't have anything off the top of my head for agenda items other than Ernest. And we'll just communicate with what put on until then.
My driveway washes out, I'll get an earful from Sean.
Financial reports.
So, yeah.